Turn one soul ring.
I think I wanted to ask Eric. I wanted to ask you about this before we started recording about like work and everything, but so we can talk about that after because I'm very interested in what's going on with that because we're like in a where we live we are in sort of a semi lockdown where one of the rules that we have to abide by is you can only physically socialize with the people that you live with. You know, if you have to go to work and things like that, that's allowed, and they're encouraging employers that if employees can work from home, to allow them to work from home. And I was listening to I think it was like the daily public health briefing that they do with the head doctor, and one of the reporters asked, if your people have to stay at home with the people that they live with, and how, what's your advice for people basically not ending up at each other's throats because they can't, interact with other people. They have to spend time with just those people. And, Riley, I know you're working from home. Are you not? Or are you going into the office still?
I'm only going into the office one day out of the week.
Okay. Well, I'm still going to work, every day out of the week. And, we have to be very, I'm being very careful. I go to dentist offices and things like that. So I'm very careful. But, my point in all this is like doing this show every week, because we've been doing this remotely since the pandemic started. Before that, we would always do it in the flesh. And it's much easier to edit this way. But like doing this show, like having this connection every week is just been fantastic. It's especially now that we actually legally aren't supposed to get together to play Magic, which is kind of a scary thought, not because we can't play Magic, just because, it almost feels like our rights are being infringed upon, but I don't want to get into a conversation about that. But it's just my advice to people who are having trouble being kind to the people that you live with, and if you need a little something extra, my advice would be to start a podcast, like anything you're passionate about. Just people that are passionate about it. Just get on the horn and start talking about it, because let me tell you, people will listen.
Yeah, and obviously, just like getting to talk with somebody about something that you like is a nice thing to be able to do when we have to be all locked down like this. So
absolutely, yeah. Oh boy, what a time to be alive. Well, let's start the show. Enough about COVID. This is Turn One Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
Hey, I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
And today on the show, we are going to be dexplaining my Yurlok Mana Burnt Commander deck. We weren't too excited with the Commander precons that came out with Commander Legends for obvious reasons. So instead of reviewing or upgrading those decks like we have done in the past with the Commander precons, and we will do in the future, we're going to be building around some new legends from Commander Legends over the next few weeks. So this week we're doing Yurlok, and in the next few weeks, who knows what we're going to do? It's going to be a surprise. But as usual, we've prepared some much needed backstory for this legend. We'll cover that first, then we'll get to the deck list. We'll wrap things up today with the suggestions from my co-hosts on how I could just make the deck run a little bit more smoothly. That's my favorite part, by the way, guys. But before we get to that, Eric, how can listeners get in touch with us?
Well, they can definitely find us over on Instagram at Turn One Soul Ring, the podcast. You can message us directly via email, turnonesoulringthepodcast@gmail.com. Find us over on YouTube. Type in Turn One Soul Ring, the podcast, to find us the easiest. And if you like what we're doing here, check us out. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/turn1soulring.
You know what we should get is a fax machine, so listeners can send us like faxes of like pictures they like or deck lists. You know what's crazy? Actually, is that you can just send a fax to someone, and if your fax machine isn't set up to receive those faxes in a digital form, and older fax machines can't do this, you just got to accept it. You got to accept the cost of the paper. You got to accept the cost of the ink. That's it.
So you just send somebody just like a black sheep.
Oh my god. Like we get ads all the time. They're just ads. It's like how you get ads in emails or when you're watching YouTube channels, or I have Deckstats up right now. I have an Aveeno hand lotion ad, but you get that, but it's on a fax machine and it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
We should bring fax back.
We should make it great again. Yeah.
Yeah, make fax great again.
So, right, we have Yurlok of Scorch Thrash. He is a new legendary from Commander Legends. He costs 1 and Jund, so black, red, green for a 4/4 Viashino Shaman. He has Vigilance. And a player losing unspent mana causes that player to lose that much life. And he has an activated ability. You can pay 1, tap it. Each player adds a black, a red, and a green to their mana pool. Yeah, so I wanted to build around this commander because, mana burn is something that I don't think any of us had to deal with when we started playing. Even me playing in the late 90s, by then it was a thing of the past. But it is a very interesting sort of callback to that mechanic, and it is a interesting design space for sure. Even if it isn't the best, the most powerful commander to build around, it's more of a fun commander. So the Yurlok backstory here, I don't have a lot, but he is of course a shaman, which is what it says in his he's a Viashino shaman, of course, and he's from the plane of Alara. So unlike the Viashino that are found on Dominaria, which we covered in our Time Streams Explain series a few weeks ago, the Viashino on Alara have a more crocodilian appearance, whereas the Viashino on Shiv on Dominaria, they're more well, I guess it sounds silly to say, but they're more like lizard men. They look more, like anthropomorphized lizards, where the Viashino on Alara are, it's almost like their heads are kind of a little bit, it's like they have less of a neck. But anyways, their culture is also a little bit different because on Alara, they form self-organized groups referred to as Thrashes, which, makes sense because he's of the Scorch Thrash. That's the name of his Thrash. And that's what he leads. That Yurlok is the leader of the Scorch Thrash. But he's utterly fearless, which is probably why he is the leader. And he spends most of his free time, hunting prey near the lava flows that cover the Jund landscape. And that's pretty much all I have about this guy. He's definitely not as... I think in terms of commander backstory, the most we've had is like... is Baron. So, it's... Forgive me if I can't find a lot on these guys, because I think this is a relatively new character.
Yeah, it's already more interesting than Chulane.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot there. So we've now arrived at the deck list portion of the show. As usual, you'll be able to follow along with us as we go through the categories by using the link at the top of the show notes. I've been I've brewed a couple of decks recently, in addition to this deck on Deckstats, and how you can do the sample hand thing and just kind of like goldfish some hands. I think something that would be helpful in that part of the of Deckstats would be like either having the commander there, like the little card image of the commander, just so you kind of know that it's in your hand, because I think like that's how you should think about your commander or commanders if you have partners. Or just like an icon that you could drift over, because sometimes if it's a new deck and I'm not, I have to reread the commander. I'm going back to the overview, and it's nice that you can just go back to starting hand and it's as you left it. But I just think that would be a nice little touch if Deckstats could do that. So Deckstats, if you're listening, we've been promoting your shit this whole time, so maybe throw that on there. It's free advertising.
It's free.
I do quite like their stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fantastic it's fantastic service. Absolutely, love it. And it's a great way to keep track of your decks and well, obviously, but it's like you have your account on your, you can have it on your computer, which is really I find the easiest way to input like paper decks that I have and build decks. But then it's nice when I'm on the go and I'm not sure if I need to pick up a card for a particular deck, especially if it just got reprinted like in Commander Legends, and I can just go and look up that deck and be like, no, I already have a Lightning Greaves in there, so I don't have to pick up that card. And I know it wasn't reprinted in Commander Legends, but I'm just using that as an example. Anyways, just thought that would be a nice little helpful touch for Deckstats. But we're going to start off before we get to the categories with the goal of this deck. So, obviously I want to mana burn my opponents. So the goal of this deck is to produce as much mana for my opponents as possible, with Yurlok on the battlefield, of course, so that they take a ton of damage and ideally die. I also have a couple of mana sinks as well as some combos that can also seal the deal. Not infinite combos, mind you, just some combos. At least I don't think there are any infinite combos. Part of the main goal of this deck involves several global mana doublers that could also serve to cripple my game plan if they accelerate my opponent's game plan too much, which is always a risk. But it might just mean that my opponents might want to kill me less or mess with my board less. That's sort of the risk reward of helping your opponents in that way. So let's get to the categories. So first off here, we have recursion. In this category, we have Eternal Witness, Noxious Revival, and Regrowth, classics. So, if we have classics here, there's really nothing too spicy. But I think some of the best single target recursion spells. And there are a few key cards that, if they are removed and put into the graveyard, we'll want to bring them back. So I chose recursion spells that could target any card. So that's what we have here.
I don't think in Commander I see Noxious Revival as much. Even though it's pretty good.
Yeah, Noxious Revival is really strong in like top deck manipulation decks, like Golos, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the nice thing about it is Phyrexian mana, so you're not investing much mana wise. But it is kind of like a card disadvantage. Are there any like synergies that you're looking for in including it in Yurlok, Kevin?
No, like there's no real ways to like draw the card immediately. No, there's no synergy other than the fact that it just gets whatever card I need, and it's instant speed. So you know, on end step, it's almost like I'm drawing a card for a turn. But yeah, it is a card disadvantage for sure.
Well, yeah, if someone kills your Seaborn Muso, being able to put that back on the top of your deck to draw it next turn and get it back out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is definitely very nice.
Very nice. So next up we have mana sinks. We have Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire. And this was kind of the category that I thought you guys might have the most suggestions for, but we'll see. So these are probably giving Riley it's like PTSD flashbacks. Because our first Commander League, I think so many Exsanguinates, quite a few Torment of Hailfires. But with all the mana acceleration and with all the mana burn, these spells respectively could be the final nail in the coffin for my opponents. And the nice thing about Exsanguinate is it can bring you back from the brink of death, especially since Yurlok affects all players. So, I might get hit with the mana burn as well. I'm going to try not to, but I might. Yeah. So even though these are mana sinks, they could also be potential alternate win conditions. Next up, we have Tutors. It's Demonic Tutor, Gamble, Grim Tutor, and Vampiric Tutor. Like much like the recursion category of this deck, these are in here just to tutor up key cards that I'm going to need. and they get any card. Gambles, just that, a gamble. But yeah, these,
I love gamble though. I love seeing just like what's going to happen from the card, because obviously, one red, you're going to search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then you discard a card at random.
Yeah.
And so that's the like. It's always funny to see when somebody goes for a gamble, and then it's like the card you tutored is the one that you have to discard.
And then they're like, no, that wasn't what I tutored. No, that's no.
I meant to do that.
Always say no. Always say no to the if people ask if that's what you meant to tutor.
Yeah.
Man, but I love a good old demonic tutor. It's
it's the best. Yeah.
It's so good. So good. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, gamble and demonic tutor. I guess grim tutor is affordable now.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it's
sub
probably
$15.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Vampiric tutor I think is still up there, but it is seeing a reprint.
Yep. It is.
It did just get reprinted.
Yeah.
It is. It got the mana drain treatment. They're both. I think they're both sitting around $70 right now.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's one of the top 3 most cards. I think are the Lotus,
Vampiric and
Mana Drain and Vamp Tutor.
And hey, everybody! All the card stores in our town are having Black Friday sales, so I bet they're having them in your town. So check it out if you need that Vampiric tutor. Check it out. So the next category we have here is card advantage. We have Harmonize, one of my favorites, Sensei's Divining Top, Staff of Domination, Sylvan Library, and Zira Arian. There's a bit of a deep cut.
Sorry, what?
It's a black, red, green for a legendary insect wizard 1/2 with flying, and you can pay black, red, green, tap it, target player draws a card. So this is just in here, obviously for card draw because it's in this section, but it's also a great way to utilize the Yurlok mana, so I don't get mana burnt.
I feel like you put this in there just to make me happy.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're
a
like,
little bit.
I'm gonna throw in a little bit of jank for Riley just so you can get a chuckle.
And like Staff of Domination is also one of those cards that I could have put in the mana sink category, but this category is quite light when it comes to card draw, so I threw it in here. And obviously with infinite mana, Staff of Domination is a win condition. Well, it's a win condition if you have a way to win with drawing your whole deck. But anyways.
Yeah, drawing your whole deck and having infinite mana available. I hope you can win.
I hope you can win.
Staff's also interesting since, like, again, you could be getting hit with your own mana burn, so just having something that can gain you a little bit of life could be life-saving.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can just dump all of your mana to untap Staff of Domination like a billion times if you needed to.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's a and just got another reprint. It's like $7. It's fantastic. And like Rings of Bright Earth, it's like $10. These are Canadian prices, everybody. So it's good.
For those of you in the U.S.,
yeah, it's good. Harmonize is just one of my all-time favorite green cards. Just like 4 mana, draw 3 cards, no questions asked. Sometimes you just need to do that.
Yeah. It's always just like good. It's like middle of the road.
Unless somebody
card.
counters it, and then they're just like a horrible person that's probably gonna have nothing but bad luck after that.
Why are you countering the Harmonize?
Yeah, counter what they draw.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on the position they're in, maybe. But like in most cases, don't counter the Harmonize.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I don't know, maybe that player wronged you in some way during the game. You're like, well, you're not drawing cards now, but
well, it's like they attacked you with a 1/1 on turn 2, and you just have a blood out.
Yeah, you gotta let them have
now.
it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like how
right.
it's like in the first league how Riley tried to play enchantments and the rest of us hate enchantments, so we just kept wiping his board. Oh boy. Okay, so the next section here, the next category is untappers. We have Instill Energy, Nature's Chosen, Seedborn Muse, Sword of the Parents, and Umbral Mantle. So we'll be
that Umbral Mantle.
Ideally attaching all of these to Yurlok, except of course Seedborn Muse, because it can't be attached. The the auras are a nice way to tap Yurlok twice in a turn to get a bit more damage through to my opponents. And the equipment, this is where like the combo portion of it comes in. Like these aren't infinite combos, but if we can attach these and untap with some mana, the mana that Yurlok produces can pay into the cost to untap these to pay the untap costs, and then that one mana cost every time we want to tap Yurlok goes a long way. We use the mana, we don't get hit by it, and if we can do that a few times, especially on opponents' turns with a Seaborn Muse on the battlefield, that might just be game, set, match.
You know what I just discovered? Which is super weird. Instill energy. So there's if you look at the printing of it, it says enchanted creatures unaffected by summoning sickness, which is pretty straightforward.
Right.
But if you read the Oracle text, it says enchanted creature can attack as though it had haste, which would suggest to me that it doesn't make tapping abilities hasty.
Yeah. No,
right?
And I think
that is so weird.
And I think it does. I think Instill Energy is one of those like weird corner case cards because I used to run it in my when I first built my Yison deck, when I was just a filthy rube, I didn't know what I was doing, and I could not activate Yison with Instill Energy. I remember. Thankfully, I discovered that on my own. I didn't have somebody like Riley telling me I couldn't do it. But yeah, it's just one of those corner cases. It can attack, but it can't activate its ability.
Yeah, I mean, like the original card, it looks like it was printed in alpha. So the original card, like this is text on the card. You may untap target creature both during your untap phase and one additional time during your turn. Target creature may also attack the turn it comes into play. So I guess that's what the Oracle text is referring to or trying to refer to, because some of the later printings say the enchanted creature has haste, which is weird.
Well, doesn't it say enchanted creature can attack as though it had haste?
As though it had haste, yeah. But but why not just give it haste and because I don't think you can. I don't think you can activate abilities. And I put it in this deck, assuming that was the rule. But
yeah, and I just found this out. Like this is so weird, but like the Oracle text reads as though if you have an ability, you can't tap the creature with its ability. The turn it gets enchanted with Instill Energy. Which is super weird.
Oh yeah, the 5th edition literally says enchanted creature is unaffected by summoning sickness.
Yeah, that's right. Funky little card. We should. If anybody from Wizards listens to this, please help.
Judge.
Yeah, this one actually might depend on the judge. We should get in touch with that guy and tell him he might have been right about something.
Yeah, I mean, this is so weird. Okay, moving on.
It is very weird. But even with the absence of like the sword or the umbral mantle, and which are both combo pieces unto themselves, in the right decks, not so much in this deck, but even just with like Seaborn Muse and untapping on everybody's turn, you can get quite a bit of damage through. But I haven't done this, but you could also build this deck to help everybody out. Maybe I have done this in an inadvertent way, but and we'll get there. But next category we have here is removal. So we have Assassin's Trophy, Beast Within, Bedevil, Chaos Warp, Crozen Grip, Terminate, and Toxic Deluge. So I decided to mostly avoid board wipes with this deck. And that's probably a mistake because I'm not running a lot of other creatures, and I'm running a lot of mana doublers that affect the whole board. But I also thought that I'd be in terms of the mana doublers, I'd be recasting Yurlok a lot because people might not want to be mana burnt so much. But we started 40 life. They might just be happy to have the mana. But basically, we have the usual suspects here when it comes to targeted removal in these colors. And I just threw Toxic Deluge in here because it gets around Gaddock Teague.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, as far as removal spells go, like Toxic Deluge is one of the better ones.
Absolutely. And it just got a reprint in Double Masters, Double Legends. And Bedevil is just one of those cards that I really like. I haven't seen it played a lot in Commander, but and it does have a restrictive cost, but it just kind of hits a lot of problem cards. It would be nice if it hit an enchantment, but I guess that would be off color, so can't have everything.
Yeah.
Well,
but sometimes there is like some problem artifact that you do want to get rid of, and so
yeah.
Who knows? We might get a Bedevil in the future that can hit enchantments. Now that black can hit enchantments.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you just probably lose some life.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So the next category we have here is Everything Hurts. We have
probably the best category.
we have Ankh of Mishra, Citadel of Pain, Mana Barbs, Power Surge, Rampaging Ferocidon, Sulfuric Vortex, Wound Reflection, and Zozu the Punisher. I think the name of this category pretty much sums it up. This one is all about turning lands and mana into damage for everybody. Wound Reflection also helps out with Yurlok damaging everybody each turn. Not to mention the incidental mana that people won't spend. You know, we always end up not being the most efficient with our mana and leaving some in the pool, and you know, Yurlok's going to get you for that. But this section is also sort of like a. I always try to do this with my decks. Have a number of cards that try to replicate what my commander does. And that's also what this section is for.
There's a lot of niche cards in here that people have probably never seen or maybe haven't seen it in quite a while. Like Citadel of Pain is a pretty interesting one. I think this one's from, it looks like Prophecy.
Yeah.
It's an enchantment, 2 and a red. At the beginning of each player's end step, Citadel of Pain deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of untapped lands they control. So whether they're tapping and floating that mana or not tapping, they're going to be taking damage from whatever mana they don't use.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
and then even crazier, the other one that I didn't know about, because I didn't know about Citadel of Pain. We also have Power Surge, which is 2 red for an enchantment. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, Power Surge deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of untapped lands they controlled at the beginning of this turn.
Yeah, this was a deep cut for me. This was like a keyword search for like untapped lands. I did a lot of keyword searches for this deck.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a fun one, and it's dirt cheap. It's like 25 cents.
Yeah, who would think that?
So,
but in this deck, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, and it's so weirdly templated because it's saying, like, it's basically at the beginning of the upkeep it triggers, but it like retroactively checks how many lands were untapped at the beginning of turn.
Yeah.
So it would have been like before the untap step.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, just to clarify for people, like, it's not
it's
the amount of lands that they have, but it's however many lands they had, basically at just as their turn is starting.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's a very weird old card that that cares about that particular point in the turn. Like Rampaging Ferocidon and Sulfuric Vortex are just to defend against those decks that want to gain a lot of life. You don't run into too many of those, but
I love Sulfuric Vortex.
It definitely does happen. Yeah, Sulfuric Vortex is it does everything you want a card like this to do. It's 1 red for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. Just, it stops the life gain and it chips away at them.
And then we do have as well 2 cards that do the same thing. Ankh of Mishra is 2 mana for an artifact. And then we have Zozu Punisher, which is 1 of anything in 2 red for a Goblin Warrior 2/2. Both of them, whenever a land enters the battlefield, whichever card deals 2 damage to that land's controller.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's for those players that are trying to put extra lands on the battlefield. You got to
Yeah.
deal with them.
Yeah.
But then, of course, on top of like tapping your lands, which is dealing damage to you through Citadel Pain and Power Surge, you also have Mana Barbs where you take damage, and then even just playing lands, you're taking damage. So,
And then at the end of
pretty
each
cool.
player's at the beginning of each player's end step, Wound Reflection, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. So I'm fine.
Yeah, and I like how it's the beginning of each end step. It's each opponent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next up, we have the next category, extra mana. So we have a new one here. We have Belbe, Corrupted Overseer, Dictate of Karamatra, Eladomri's Vineyard, Heartbeat of Spring, Magus of the Vineyard, Mana Flare, Overabundance, and Zurte Ancient, which is a card I had never heard of before I built this deck.
You know what? I've actually played with, well, with the exception of Belby, I've played with all of these cards in my Teamer Hugs deck. Like Overabundance was a classic because basically it was built around giving people as many resources as they could, possibly not manage, like cards and mana wise. And Overabundance was a lot of fun. But even like Magus of the Vineyard and Eladomri's Vineyard, like those are really fun as well.
Yeah,
those are neat little cards, and especially just for 1 green for an enchantment or creature.
Yeah.
Both of them at the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase, that player adds 2 green mana.
Yeah, and I guess we should read Overabundance. 1 red green for an enchantment that says, whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produced, and Overabundance deals 1 damage to the player. So it's basically like a Mana Flare or a Heartbeat of Spring, but it also deals 1 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these are all just symmetrical mana doublers, obviously, and hopefully, like Riley said, it'll be too many resources to manage, and with Yurlok on the battlefield, my opponents will be taking damage, and with all the extra mana I have, I'll try to recast Yurlok. This reminds me, I don't think I put a command beacon in this deck. Oh boy. No, I didn't. Okay, so let's move on to a little less exciting category. No, we're not quite there yet. This is still an exciting category. It's protection. So we have Deflecting Swat, Exquisite Blood, Glacial Chasm, Heroic Intervention, Koskan Falls, Lightning Greaves, Price of Glory, Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Smoke, Swiftfoot Boots, Tectonic Instability, and Veil of Summer. So, like I said, there aren't a lot of creatures in this deck. And that's why there are a few cards in this category that help me to not die, as well as some cards that just protect my game plan, protect my board, like Heroic Intervention or Veil of Summer. And Koskan Falls, this was kind of
I love it.
a crossroads for me because I wasn't, I was thinking, I don't have a lot of creatures in this deck. I have to tap down a creature, but I have that untappers category. Hopefully I'm going to have a way to untap. And how often am I even going to draw Koskan Falls and have an untapper? So I thought it was worth the slot, and it's an amazing card. I think we talked about this card we definitely talked about this in our Homeland set review. That was a fun one. We should do another one of those like retrospective set reviews. Like on, I think like Fallen Empires might be next, but it's 2 and 2 black for a world enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped creature you control. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. So it's like a propaganda effect.
Yeah, so good. Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good. Very good. One of the Homeland's all-stars.
And of course, we have one of the new Commander all-stars, the Deflecting Swat. Just a great little free spell.
Yeah, it's a good way to move targeted removal away from Yurlok.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's 2 red for an instant. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. And I have Exquisite Blood in here. I didn't do the full Exquisite Blood Sanguine Bond thing. But I just thought it was a good way to just bolster up my life while everybody is losing life.
Well, yeah, you're burning away their life the whole game, so this is a great card to include.
And I see you've got the classic Price of Glory and Seedborn Muse combo going here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that can be risky, but it's
can-
definitely one way to punish people for playing at instant speed.
Yeah, and again, I was thinking more like, how often am I gonna have them both on the battlefield at the same time? But yeah, it's definitely it definitely does happen, and it is definitely risky. And everybody listening at home, like, don't be as risky as me.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
Price of Glory says 2 and a red for an enchantment that says whenever a player taps a land for mana, if it's not that player's turn, destroy that land.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Have you guys seen the price of this card lately? It's like $12.
Oh, really?
Oh, dang.
Yeah, uncommon from Odyssey. My goodness.
People got to get their land destruction fix.
Oh,
Yeah.
they sure do. I can't imagine what the foil costs. Oh boy.
Ooh.
So one last card I wanted to spotlight in this category was Smoke. I had never heard of this card before, but it's red for an enchantment. Players can't untap more than one creature during their untap steps. So I thought this was really great from stopping myself from being attacked while piloting this deck, because I get to untap Yurlok, but that's it. And everybody else gets to untap one creature, and unless it's a big scary like Merit Lage token, I'm probably okay.
Yeah, for sure. Classic from my experience in playing Chandelar. Yeah.
Nice. Good Chandelar callback.
So yeah, I have to say, actually, the inclusion of Smoke is really awesome. I didn't know this card existed. I think it works really well for what your deck is trying to do. So
Yeah, I know. And it's also a super cheap card. Like I think Smoke is definitely not even an underplayed card in Commander. It's like an unknown card. I think you should be picking up some Smokes. I bought a playset, so check it out.
well, usually if you have red, you're trying to be aggressive, but you can only untap one creature.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess it could be good in an aggressive deck if you're making a bunch of hasty tokens and you just want to keep everybody else's stuff tapped down.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Definitely do it that way.
So let's move on to the penultimate category here. We have Ramp. So we have Ramp. We have Arcane Signet, Golgari Signet, Gruul Signet, Horizon Stone, Mana Crypt, Nature's Lore, Rakdos Signet, Soul Ring, Talisman of Impulse, Talisman of Indulgence, Talisman of Resilience, and the newly reprinted 3 Visits. Oh yeah.
Yeah. First time we're seeing it in one of our deck techs.
What a great card.
So good.
I'm so glad it's not $60 anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be $60.
There was no.
And we just we really didn't have an effect like this either ever, so it's really nice.
Well, Nature's Lore.
It was being facetious, but yes.
It's 3 Visits lore. Yeah, it's just it is yeah, Eric. To your point, it is nice to have this this redundancy again in the hands of the peasants that play Commander.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just have you guys know me, I like to keep it pretty tight. I like Horizon Stone, especially in this deck, because Horizon Stone is 5 for an artifact. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless instead, so that again helps to keep me alive with Yurlok, and to just hang on to that mana to use later, maybe to dump into a Umbral Mantle untapping scheme.
That's definitely Horizon Stone is the perfect pair for Yurlok.
Absolutely. Yeah.
like really in the art for his card, he should be holding that in his hand.
Yeah, he definitely should be. Yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity, definitely. But yeah, just a bunch of two mana ramp here, one and two, and a little bit of zero with Mana Crypt. But that particular card, Mana Crypt, is definitely driving the overall is a big driver in the price of this deck on Deckstats, and you definitely don't have to run that if you don't have one, but if you want to make yourself one and your buddies don't mind, you can do that too. I wouldn't mind if I was playing with you. Oh boy. So the last category we have here is lands. We've got 32 of them, if you can believe it. I know it's low, but we have Ancient Tomb, Arcane Lighthouse, Blood Crypt, Bloodstained Mire, Bajuka Bog, Beseju, who shelters all. That's for the Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire, because you know it's going to get countered. Cabal Coffers, Castle Lochthwain, a little bit of card draw. Command Tower, we have 7 forests, Carplusian Forest, Lanamore Wastes, Luxury Suite, 5 mountains, Overgrown Tomb, Spire Garden, Stomping Ground, Swamp, Undergrowth Stadium, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Verdant Catacombs, and Wooded Foothills. So another thing that's driving the overall price of this deck is this land base. You're in green, you really don't need to run fetch lands. Certainly not enemy fetch lands, because we know those are the pricey ones. I have Arcane Lighthouse in here because I am running a lot of targeted removal, and I thought it would be helpful in that regard. Arcane Lighthouse, I feel, is also a very underplayed card because you can use it politically to remove Hexproof or Shroud from an opponent's creature that then another opponent who may be your ally can then remove that card. So I feel like we should be seeing this card a lot more in the battlefield.
I agree with you.
And Cabal Coffers and Urborg, also a great way to accelerate our mana and can potentially help us with those Yurlok equipment untap shenanigans. Yeah, so nothing too spicy here. Probably should put a command beacon in here, but I don't know. It's cheap.
I will say the Bajuka Bog with the Urborg in this deck is a risky play since there's not too many other swamps. Definitely interesting because Urborg. The bad thing about Cabal Coffers is obviously it doesn't tap for any mana by itself.
Yeah, and there aren't besides the duels and the one swamp, there aren't a lot of.
Which doesn't tap for a mana?
Cabal Coffers. You have to pay 2 and tap it to add a swamp
on its own, unless Urborg's on the battlefield,
okay.
and then it does. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Urborg's out, it's good shit.
Yeah, so I think maybe and we might talk about this, but I think maybe in the ramp category, or maybe more likely in the tutors category, it might be good to run a like a Sylvan scrying or just good old fashioned expedition map. Ooh, you know what? Crop rotation, but I don't know how many lands I want to be sacrificing. We're gonna have to see. So, now we're at my favorite part of these episodes, where my co-hosts have prepared lists of cards that would be good inclusions to this deck, and they might shout at me about some cards that I should just straight up take out of this deck. But just to make it run a bit more smoothly. So we're gonna get to them. All right. Cool. So I'm ready. We can start the honorable mentions portion of this Dexplained episode. So who wants to go first here? Or no, we'll go first, but then you guys can just take turns. I don't remember how we do this. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think Eric and I talked about it a little bit, and we'll just kind of go back and forth, kind of following along with your sections that you've outlined. But before we jump into it, I just did want to note that there are a lot of similarities with a deck that I played, and I referred to it earlier as the Teamer Hugs deck that looked to give people a lot of resources. And in my experience, giving people more resources than they expect leads to long games. So that's just a warning for folks out there. Like, if you want to take this kind of deck for a spin, be prepared that this deck might lead to some weird, chaotic games. And who knows? Like this deck has more of a win condition than my deck did. My deck was literally just intended to give people resources, so it didn't really have much of a strong win condition aside from beating somebody in with a Maelstrom Wanderer. So, so yeah, I just thought I would mention that.
Okay, that's a good. That's a cautionary tale for everybody.
All right. So I think my list is a little bit longer than Eric's, so I'll start us off.
Great.
Under the recursion category, one card that I thought might be worth considering, because you brought up Command Beacon a few times, but we also talked about Noxious Revival, and this card, Road of Return, might be the kind of card that you're looking for. So Road of Return, it's 2 green, so green for a sorcery that says choose one, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, or put your commander from your hand, from the command zone to your hand, and you can also entwine it for 2 generic mana to get both of those effects.
Yeah, that's is this specifically from a commander set? I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the card that I had in my what was it, Kadena? The Slinking Sorcerer.
Slinking Sorcerer. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That deck. Oh my god.
Everybody's favorite.
Do you still have that together?
No, I took it apart because there was some. I think I had like a Demonic Tutor in there and a couple other pricey cards that I wanted to repurpose. So.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Yeah, that's definitely great to include, and that kind of versatility is really going to come in handy. And to everyone listening, we'll have all these cards in the maybe board section, so that when you're listening to this, you can go look at that when you get to this part of the episode. But don't look at it when you start the episode, because it's
spoilers.
It's just going to ruin it for you. Don't ruin it.
We should have put a spoiler at the beginning.
I can do that. I'll do like a spoiler at the top of the show notes. Like spoiler, don't like disclaimer. Please don't ruin it for yourself.
Yeah, man. Imagine putting spoiler warnings at the end of things.
Oh, that's just a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Spoiler, got you.
Yeah. All right.
So the first card I'll talk about is one that I don't know where I would put this. But this is an interesting artifact. So it's called Mana Web. And so it costs 3 mana. And whenever any land target opponent controls is tapped for mana, tap all lands he or she controls that can produce any type of mana that land can produce. And
it's actually been the Oracle text is whenever a land an opponent controls is tapped for mana. So it's not target. Yeah, it's just anybody. This is this is actually a fantastic card, because you just get them to tap down a lot more lands and add a lot more mana to their mana pool that they can't necessarily use and have to get burnt by.
Yeah, so it's like later in the game when you still have like smaller stuff to cast but not as many cards in hand. It's like you're going to have to tap a lot of your lands if this is on the battlefield.
Yeah, so if this is on the battlefield, just for people playing against it, I think my tip would be to have a plan with your turn. Because you'll have an opportunity to tap your lands for mana, and then this will resolve and tap everything else. But if you just start playing normally and then get screwed by this, you're going to have a bad time.
but otherwise you don't need to have a plan for what you're doing. Only if Mana Web is on the battlefield do you need a plan.
Yeah, like if there's no mana burn, like you can just tap all your stuff anyways and just play out your cards, but it's the big thing when you're trying to get the mana burnt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Next up on my list, moving on to mana sinks here. First card on my list for mana sinks is the good old Walking Ballista.
Okay.
So, I mean, an oldie but a goodie. Walking Ballista is XX for it's not that old. An XX for 0/0. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, and you can also pay to put a +1/+1 counter on it. And as an activated ability, you can remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista to deal 1 damage to any target. So just a nice little versatile mana sink that Either you can upfront sink mana into it, or throughout the game sink mana into it, which I think is something that might be challenging with a big splashy card like Exsanguinate or Torment of Hailfire. Is if the game continues, then you don't really have the ability to sink more mana into it. But Walking Ballista gives you a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, and that is the nice thing about it for sure. Yeah, love
being able to
Ballista.
ping things off is always good.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And there's so many little ping targets in this format.
The second mana sink I have here, it's an interesting one, but definitely a mana sink. It's Necrogenesis. So for black and a green, you get an enchantment, and the enchantment has an activated ability of 2 generic mana to exile target creature card from a graveyard and create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. So it's just straight up generic mana sink, just to get some targeted graveyard removal and to get a little body out of it. Because I definitely noticed that the deck is creature light, so just having a little chump blocker here and there might actually be valuable.
Yeah, and it would also help with the Cost Can Falls upkeep cost.
Oh yeah.
So that is very helpful. Yeah, very very cool card. I've never seen this card before, but I love a mana cost and a colon next to it. That just puts a smile on my face.
Good stuff. Yeah, so I'll throw in this one for the card advantage. This is an interesting newer card. So we have Valakut Awakening / Valakut Stoneforge.
Nice.
So you could also replace just one of the mountains with this, technically, because you can play it as the Valakut Stoneforge as a tapped red mana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the instant side of it, you can put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. So you got to draw one extra, but it's also like if we have a bunch of cards we're not really looking for right now, we can definitely churn through our deck a little more and draw one extra.
Hey, and then I could just Noxious Revival it back to the top of my library and then draw it and play it as a red mana source.
Hey.
Now you're thinking.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's that's a very. I mean, this whole cycle of cards is just. Why didn't they do this 15 years ago? This seems like a no-brainer.
I think Morrow,
the NDFCs are pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think Morrow wanted to do something like this 15 years ago. Now it's just his crazy crazy ideas are coming to fruition.
Finally, he's acquired enough power.
Yeah. Next up on my list, I'm looking at untappers here. So for untappers, I've got 1,000-Year Elixir. So 1,000-Year Elixir is 3 mana for an artifact. It says you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste, and you can pay 1 and tap it to untap target creature. So just a nice little option to get Yurlok to work the turn he comes down, and also get an extra activated ability out of him.
Yeah, and this is kind of a the wording on this is kind of a like an opposite of not an opposite, but more, I guess, I'm not sure, but it's like instill energy. Was that the card where it's like it gives them haste, but they can't activate abilities? This is like it gives them haste, but they can activate abilities and they can't attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is a fantastic card. I don't know if we included this in our live deck build for the Kraj Father, but this would be a great card in that deck if we didn't mention it. And I'm certainly not going to go back and listen to it to find out. So,
yeah, I'm not sure we
let us know in the comments.
The Kraj deck that I built has 1,000-Year Elixir in it. So,
well, I'm sure we brought it up because that otherwise that would be a huge oversight.
All right, Eric.
Go again, Riley.
Oh, you want me to go again? Okay, cool.
You have twice as many cards, I think.
All right. Next up, Everything Hurts. This is a fun section here. So, first card on my Everything Hurts section is Stone Shaker Shaman. So it's 2 and a red for a 1/1 human shaman, and it has this ability that says at the end of each player's turn, that player sacrifices an untapped land.
Oh, ouch.
Ugh.
So it's kind of like one of these incentives, if you will, to make people tap out. Because nobody really wants to be sacrificing lands at the end of their turn. So just a nice little creature. Though in its worst case scenario, you can jump with it if you need to. But otherwise, it's a nice incentive to get people to use their mana or not use their mana and get burned by it.
I actually like this better than, like, I could see swapping Price of Progress out for this, because it has a similar effect, and I think people are going to be more likely to tap all their lands so they don't have to sacrifice them, as opposed to leaving the mana up and having the ability to counter a very devastating play or spell and lose those lands, because they get to decide at that point. It doesn't take the decision out of the equation, but it takes their ability to counter spells out of the equation, because unless we're talking like Force of Will or Pact of Negation. But yeah, I could really see swapping those two out. This is a fantastic card.
Nice.
Yeah, that works really well with everything.
I did it.
You did it. Actually, I've been watching a lot of Dora the Explorer with Violet, and I think that's my favorite song. The like, we did it, yeah. And then they start singing in Spanish, and that's where they lose me. But it's a great song.
There you go. There's your song recommendation for the episode.
Gotcha. I also have a card for Everything Hurts. This guy kind of amplifies what everything is kind of doing. So we have Torbrand, Thane of Redfell. So if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2 instead. As we can see, most of the cards in the Everything Hurts section is red. Plus, we have Yurlok has Vigilance, so you can always get in and attack with him. That also makes Torbrand put the +2 on there as well.
Yeah, and like all these little bits of damage don't seem like much, like, the +2 damage, but it does add up. And I can tell you from, if you've never played against like what's his name, that kicker Gruul deck that you have, Riley, Halar. Yeah, like that. He doesn't seem very threatening. Like, well, they don't seem very threatening, but it is very, like, it adds up quick, and you're like looking at your life total, and you're at 15 life, and you're like, I was just at 40 life, what happened? And you're like, I just won the game. It's done. So it doesn't
just play draft chat.
Yeah, exactly. but yeah, it does creep up on you, especially with those shock lands getting at you.
And I think like Mana Barbs is the one with it's like now tapping a land and taking 3 damage for a tap land.
That sucks. Yeah, that sucks.
That's.
I mean, one thing to note is that Yurlok's mana burn ability is loss of life, so it won't.
Yeah, so that won't work.
It won't work with Torbrand there, but for sure you can still smack somebody in the face with Yurlok. So.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a solid include, especially with Mana Barbs. I love that synergy, just like tapping a land's 3 damage. Oh,
it's so good.
It actually even works with Overabundance as well, because that's red too.
Yeah, and Citadel of Pain. Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, ouch.
All right. The next one on my list for Everything Hurts is War's Toll.
Oh, yeah.
War's Toll, originally from Dissension, 3 and a red for an enchantment, and it says, whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls, and if a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that opponent control attack if able. So just another...
All or nothing, always.
Yeah, all or nothing. Basically just make your decision now. Either you got to float all that mana now, or, regret it later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run this in my Zoncha deck, and like both stipulations are more applicable in that deck, because like I both want to induce combat and I want to deprive people of their ability to cast spells when it's not their turn. But yeah, this is fantastic. Just for the first part, I mean the inducing combat is definitely secondary, but yeah, forcing people to make that decision to tap all their lands is really what this deck wants to do, because like we've mentioned multiple times, it's not creature heavy. I don't have a lot of ways to defend my life total, but yeah, this is definitely would be a great include. And hey, it was reprinted in Battle Bond.
All right, final one in my Everything Hurts category is Rurikthar the Unbowed. So Rurikthar, not really necessarily in the whole mana burn theme, but definitely in the theme of hit your opponents in the face if they do something.
Oh, I remember this card.
Yeah, 4 red green for a 6/6 legendary ogre warrior. He's got vigilance, reach. Rurikthar the Unbowed attacks each combat if able, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Rurikthar deals 6 damage to that player.
Ooh, ouch.
So get wrecked.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's
I like that card a lot.
This just adds to the just the chip damage kind of strategy of this deck. And it is a good defender because it does have vigilance, so that's definitely nice. Vigilance and reach. Yeah, this would be and with all that extra mana, it wouldn't be that difficult to cast. I like it a lot. I thought it was the Unbound, but it's the Unbowed. He will not bow.
Yeah, he's
Bows to no
He's
one.
got vigilance.
Yeah, he can't bow. He can't bow.
And he's got reach, so he's always like reaching up and stuff.
Yeah,
He's
you
like,
can't
"No, I'm not
bow if
bowing."
you're reaching. That's an oxymoron.
Yeah. Silly man.
Okay, sounds like we can move on to extra mana.
Oh yeah.
So the one that I really like, because we already have Umbral Mantle in the deck, let's throw in some infinite combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Leyline of Abundance. Obviously, if it's in the beginning, if it's in your opening hand, you may have it on the battlefield at the beginning. But Leyline of Abundance, whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green mana.
Oh, that's greasy. I like it though. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So obviously, we can infinitely give people mana using Yurlok when Abundance is out. And that can happen as early as turn 5 with no ramp. If you have ramp, it's even earlier.
Nice. Yeah, or if this is in your opening hand, get out of the way.
Yeah, like
And
it's on the
and
battlefield, get some ramp, Umbral Mantle turn 2, Yurlok turn 3.
God hand.
Get wrecked.
Yeah.
That's spicy.
This deck just went from a trap to, I think, a CEDH tier 1 deck.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely it definitely seems spicy.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave smoke in. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Smoke is really cool. Yeah,
Smoke's good. I love that card.
yeah. And with Rurikthar, like he doesn't tap anyways.
Yeah.
No,
you go.
he's unbowed. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob's your uncle. My card in this category for extra mana is Shizuko, Caller of Autumn. So Shizuko is a legendary snake shaman for 1 green. It's a 2/3. It says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player adds green to his or her mana pool. This mana doesn't cause mana burn. Until end of turn, this mana doesn't empty from that player's mana pool as phases end. But notably, the Oracle text doesn't reference that mana burn. And you could also argue that Yurlok's ability is not technically mana burn because mana burn is no longer a rule. So even the reference would be irrelevant. But fortunately,
because now it's just saying losing unspent mana.
Yeah. So fortunately, the Oracle text clarifies that in getting rid of that mana burn statement. So yeah, this is just kind of like Eladamri's Vineyard kind of style of effect where it's giving your opponents extra green mana to play with. And hopefully they don't have a way to use it because at the end of turn, it will cause 3 damage.
Yeah. Let's hope they don't have a way to use it. That's the whole thing with this deck. Just can we just please let me enjoy this and hope you don't have a way to use the mana.
Okay, so the last card I got also gets extra mana, but it can protect ourselves in a way as well. There's the good old Omnath, Locus of Mana.
Nice.
So 2 of anything and a green for a 1/1. You don't lose unspent green mana as steps and phases end. And that can really start to get out of control if we have the Eldarmy's Vineyards or Magus of the Vineyards on the battlefield, because then that's just extra mana that if we can't use it, it'll just keep stacking.
Yeah, and again, like that sort of lends itself to what I was talking about with the Umbral Mantle or the Sword of the Parents, and just having that one extra mana to untap multiple times in a turn. Like if you get a few rounds, like adding that green mana to your mana pool, like that in and of itself could be a win condition.
Yeah,
I like that. Include a lot. OG Omnath before he got broken.
OG Omnath.
Yeah. For protection, I hope this doesn't come as a surprise to you guys, but my suggestion is Elephant Grass.
I was gonna wonder if you were gonna say it.
So Elephant Grass, I've covered it in the past, but it's a green mana for an enchantment, has a cumulative upkeep of 1, and it says black creatures cannot attack you, and non-black creatures cannot attack you unless their controller pays an additional 2 for each attacking creature. So just kind of another kind of propaganda effect. Kevin mentioned it when we talked about what is it? Cusco Falls. Yeah. Similar kind of effect. Obviously, it hoses black creatures for whatever reason. But it's such a nice card. Like honestly, you drop it the turn that it really matters, and it's gonna put in work. It's gonna just like deter people from attacking you for a round or two, as long as you can keep it around. And usually that's all you need it for. So yeah, just a personal favorite.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely an underplayed card. And I think, just a lot of people haven't heard of this card. We're trying to help them with that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we're here for.
That's right.
Then here we're going to cap it off with the other section, because I didn't know where to put this one.
The other section.
We've got City of Solitude. So for 2 and a green, you get an enchantment that says each player may play spells and abilities only during his or her turn.
Oh, yeah, this is on the reserve list.
Yeah, basically it makes it so that people can only do stuff on their turns. So if you want to give them a bunch of mana on your turn, then they're not going to really be able to do much with it.
Yeah, and it's like Dosa and the Falling Leaf is sort of like a functional reprint. It's a 1 and 2 green for a legendary human monk. Players can cast spells only during their own turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is better because it's an enchantment, and it's 2 and a green, so it's easier to cast, especially in a 3-color deck.
And it covers abilities.
Yeah.
There
Classic. Yeah.
Bam.
Fantastic include. Because I'm not going to be casting spells on other people's turns.
Yeah, why would you?
No, I just want to win. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Well, I got Seaborn, but I got Price of Glory. I can't be doing anything with it. All right, so first of all, thanks for the suggestions, guys. This is always it's always a lot of fun. And with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close. We'll be back dexplaining a couple more Commander Legends over the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. I think I mentioned that at the top of the show. Thank you for listening. And Ainsley, thank you for the work that you do for us. Feel free to comment or DM us about this deck or any other deck that we've covered, and let us know what you would add. That's probably the most fun. And you can find me on Instagram at Command Beacon. Riley, what's a better social media outlet for you, like Instagram or Twitter?
Well, either or. I check them both.
He checks them both, everybody.
I use Twitter a little bit more often for Magic content.
Yeah.
But like in the blue moon that I do post something, like if I have a picture to share, it's nice to use Instagram as well.
Yeah. And where can everybody find you on those particular platforms?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Riles Dayton, and then you can find me on Instagram at Riley_Dayton.
That's right. All right, everybody. Well, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the deck list on Deckstats. Throw it a like or give us some karma or whatever the hell it is. And we'll be back next week with another deck tech because we're very excited about Commander Legends. But until then, we'll say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Turn one Soul Ring.